when we are not knowing ourselves. We are not beggars on the periphery of source. We know this when we come home. I think even we said home last night. We know this when we come home to our bodies. We are not beggars on the periphery of source. But we only know that when we surrender to who we are. And there's a practical way to do it. For me, this wording works for me. Soften my body and feel it. Soften my body and feel it. And then when you get impatient with that, immediately do it again. Does it require bravery? Is it doing nothing? Yes, it requires bravery, and no, it is not doing nothing. It is doing the thing that is harder to do, which is to begin to value the thing that we've not been taught to value. Can we be in the silence? Can we be in the emptiness? Can we expand our awareness beyond what we think we know, which is limited? Can we be receptive to energies and insight and wisdom that are carried into this life with us from our ancestry, from nature around us? The best goddamn teacher ever that we will not be able to replicate with science. Never will we be able to replicate this teacher with any kind of science is the teacher that is nature. Because the ecosystem around us, when we're quiet, when we're paying attention, teaches us about death, loss, celebration, becoming, harmonizing, participating, the old and the new, coexist, all the stuff. Everything you ever needed to know, it's happening outside right now all the time. And then we're like here in our books doing that, which I read all the time, not saying a thing about that. Not saying a thing about that. I'm just saying that we are only there. We're often, probably not very many of you guys get out in nature all the time. But what I'm speaking to in this way is because I know that I'm speaking to other leaders. So even though your relationship to your body and nature might be a little bit more evolved, your relationship to being in the moment, being in a place of trust might be more evolved, guaranteed, not just as a breath worker, but as a person going back out into the world. Some of this stuff is brand new. Brand new. The gift of being embodied means that we don't have to write a book in order to stand next to somebody and have communication go on a deep level. Our fullness of breath, our harmony in the self, what's happening in our bodies will communicate beyond translation to that person's nervous system. And what it can say is, it is safe, it is desirable to be in your body. What your nervous system can say to somebody that you don't agree with, somebody standing next to you in line, somebody that's in your environment, is even the most intense of divisions that really trigger our feelings of being unsafe are not the truth, not the whole truth. My body can say to your body, I'm part of you, I love you. It is safe, and this is where it's really handy as a breath worker. My body can say to your body, what wants to rise that up until this moment has not been able or felt safe enough or invited to rise. When we are overly married to the mind and disembodied, we can get stuck in a formulaic way of being in our life and a formulaic way of practicing breath work. You make an extraordinary structure and plan. You educate the crap out of yourself if that's what you want to do. You have the most wonderful plan. You have the most wonderful plan. So that when you throw it out the window, you're not littering. You're throwing gold out the window. You're not littering, right? You have a good plan. But things will go on in your breathwork session and in your life that are not in that plan, that you're not prepared for. And you don't know what to do. Golden moment. Because as I said in our group the other day, learning to welcome and anticipate these moments where we don't know what to do is the difference between having a formulaic practice and inviting the spirit of divinity to do unshakable, beyond the mind stuff in your process, in your session. So when the how things should be all the time, sometimes that gets really strong. This is the way this should be all the time. And that's the reason that that's happening, it's not wrong. It's happening because we're scared. We're scared of not being a good enough breath worker. We're scared of not really having a contact with source. Is this source? Is this something else? We're kind of wobbly in our relationship to ourselves and our own bodies and our life force energy. So once again, there's really practical things to be done about that. That our process be less about the order in which we do our training and what we hear this all the time. I'm going to say it again. I cannot help myself because we still believe it, that the certification that you have on your wall is your primary certification. It's not. It's not. It is awesome and helpful and it deserves to be there and it deserves to be a smaller part of the pie because what you really offer, not as a breath worker, yes, because that's the context that we're in, but as a human being, what you really offer is who you are and your access to that. Jim says it in beautiful words about you're not any more divine, today than you were when you first arose. It's just you're getting better at embracing it. And that is the truth. That is absolutely what's going on. Our relationship to ourselves and our ability to not know, to actively pray when we're in a session. Because our pedagogy, our, if you will, education trauma, tells us that something is wrong and you're not good if you don't know the answer. Bullshit. That actually the moments in a breathwork session, we hope they never go away. Something's happening and there could, Martha, do you mind? Do you just come and lie down and so what we're gonna do here is just have a little physical demonstration of what it looks like when you don't know what to do and you're in a breathwork session. So Martha is going to start doing something that I don't quite understand. And the reason I don't understand is because we've not talked about that. I have no idea what she's about to do. But the first thing you'll do is just breathe. Beautiful. Time has gone by. We've sped it up a little bit. She's been breathing for a while. And guess what? I've not said anything. My job as the innocence to want for her that which is ready to happen in herself is to watch and listen with my body. Listen to the sound of your breath. Now start doing something weird. I don't know what kind of response she's in. I don't know if she's panicking or she's being filled with the holy movement of life. I don't know what's going on. And if in this moment I start to feel scared, what do I do? Okay, you're okay. Who am I telling that to? Right. What does she feel? Oh, I'm safe. So what do I do? Break it down. I'm not sure what to do. My energy's rising up into my throat, into my head, and it's starting to do this. I pray. You might use a different word. We will never learn enough. Another thing I like to say that I'll say another 800 times, we will never, ever learn enough about the skill of being a breath worker to relieve us of not actively praying for guidance and support in a session. How do we know we're on it as a breath worker? Because we're praying. So what might be going on in my head? Martha, I trust that love is moving in you in this moment. I'm not necessarily saying this out loud to her. Please make my body, my mind, my heart, and my words in accordance, in sync with what wants to move in your body. I trust you, Martha. You are held on the earth. This moment is divine. I invite the depth of divinity that wants to happen, that's possible to happen, not to be limited by my mind, but to come in full effect into this moment. So let us not limit what we can feel by what we can think. We do that all the time. Let us not limit what we can feel. Thank you, Martha. Thank you for that. Let us not limit what we can feel by what we can think. So we arrive at this little precious crux. It's like the point in the infinity, like that point. The devotional, the humble, and the present mind that connects to each and every center of intelligence in the body and says, I am available, not just in my mind for you. My whole body wants for you to thrive. And we don't have to be shaking with that and that's very alarming to somebody when they walk into your office and you want for them so much, you're so alive. And we're not talking about being a dramatic show of embodiment, because this is actually a very calming thing. To be in your body gives us back all the wisdom that we are spending 90% of our energy trying to find. So let us entertain, not with our mind, but with our whole body right now. Just the possibility that what we seek most deeply might not be elsewhere. This is the cosmic joke. And the arc of this mythology is that we hike the mountain, we lose our companions, we're wearing bark by the time we get to the end. We've had all these experiences of eating the poison berries and sweating and getting to the top, and we're at the top. Oh my God. Digging into your pocket that you've had it the whole time. This is universal. It's also true. And yet we're cast out into the world to discover it over and over again in our life. Another thing that we can look forward to on our path as a breath worker is that we will be kicked all the way back to the beginning numerous times on our path. That what we've been doing begins to feel stale, or that we wake up one day and we kind of don't know who we are anymore. And we're like, and I thought I was this profound breath worker. I thought I was doing this great work. And then all of a sudden I'm here back at the beginning. You've leveled up. This is my reframing of it. It's helpful for me. You've leveled up. When you get kicked back to the beginning, you've leveled up, because it's time for the next incarnation of your work. This is where, as a life model, I've started to replace the symbol of life from the path that you could easily fall off of, right? The path model, with the living labyrinth. Those of you who are familiar with Daily Breathe have heard these words before. the living labyrinth just feels to me like a little bit more accurate and helpful symbol of life. Every little turn that we make, we kind of have, we go this way, or we're following it, but the beauty of it, and paradoxically speaking, this is as best we can possibly do to understand it, right, with our mind, is that we take a turn and we realize, oh, I'm all the way back at the beginning. I can see the beginning. I'm just all the way back at the beginning. Rather than despair, because what we know about the symbol of the labyrinth, the beauty, the medicine of the labyrinth, is that when we are farthest away from the center, we have the shortest route. I'm in the center. We have the shortest route. When we get the farthest away, and again, this shows up in all kinds of ways. The hero's journey, the dark night. I'm going to go ahead, surrender is used. I'm going to say give up. When we give up, I'm done raising up that white flag of surrender. That is when we are closest to being opened up inside and home flooding us. What makes this process easier? It's hard. It's a challenging thing, especially when this kind of reframing is not like on the billboards, right? We're receiving different messages. When we get overwhelmed by those different messages, they feel wrong, but we kind of buy into them because otherwise we're alone, right? What makes this easier? What makes this process easier? Joe right now. It's like the connection that we can make with somebody else in a space. Did we happen to be like bumping into Andy in the hallway this morning? Literally, hi, Andy. And then the connection and the moment that takes place, and using the same word that I used in another segment, poultice, that draws up out of us the thing that might otherwise be stagnant. What does it take? And how many of you have had this experience where you've been going along your sort of merry way? You might know you're not having the greatest day, but you're just kind of going through your day. And someone that you really love and trust is like, hey, Jamie, how's it going? And the waterworks start. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Poultice. The medicinal quality and necessity of being seen by somebody else is like, and that's what we get to practice. We're magicians here, practicing this very organic thing, which is human connection. What's your job? What's your job? What is your job as a breath worker? Your job is to care about what's happening, not unboundaried. So we do work around codependency. We do work around the savior and martyrdom, right? We do work around that stuff because we all ate a diet of that stuff growing up. So we do work around that stuff, but beyond that, when we've ironed out some of that stuff, what is our job? To care and to be present. Because that alone is already kicking into motion the natural process of healing. The natural process of healing. That we are learning enough about healing to learn it and then practice it isn't kind of really where the majority of our potential is as healers. We want to thrive naturally. Things got in the way, we are not thriving. So we don't have to create or use a philosophy and do it right in order to give somebody permission to be natural in their body. It's very helpful, and I would say essential, but healing happens in really weird circumstances all the time. That we are ourself in our body. That we are ourself in our body. Which means encountering our own stuff. Here's another one I like to use sometimes, which is that we are in rolling learning, rolling teaching. If you have the teacher hat on for too long and you're not awake to learning, then your teachings become stale, irrelevant, or even harmful. So that we are learning as we go, that we're breathing as we go, that we are continuing to honor the state of not knowing and receptivity. Wait, there was something that was connected to. You get the idea that the most radical thing that we can do to bring about or invite healing energy into the space is to be breathing with kindness inside of our own bodies. To be breathing with kindness inside of our own bodies. It's no accident that we want to be good at what we do and that we want to sort of, in ways, come on, this is going on below the surface a little bit, because we do it. There's such an intense drive to connected to our survival and to getting love, that we be successful, that we be good at what we do. And the temptation to kind of get in there and want to be the healer takes the agency away from that other person. So what we're not talking about is false humility. Oh, you did this. This was you. But I'm silently, patting myself on the back for I'm so passionate and this or that or whatever. The ego is going to get in there. We've got to become friends with the ego a little bit, right? Just we have to. We've got to do that. But your presence, you have to preface this with everything else I've said so far, because otherwise these words roll right off and we don't understand that it's devastating that we do not feel this way. It's devastating that these words are not operating in our life. That it is our nature. It's our nature to thrive. When we're in a session and we're supporting somebody in a session, that we trust, not Jim, although he's pretty trustworthy, not therapeutic breathwork or Leonard Orr or Stanislav Grof or the Native Americans that once lived on this very land. All of those things are a part of it. But that we trust the nature of that person. They don't need us to get into a power struggle with them about whether or not they're resisting. They don't need that at all. And when we do that, it's because we ourselves want to make ourselves valuable because something is unresolved, unhealed, and we're not connected. It's okay that will happen sometimes. We just want to set out for ourselves the desire to maybe not do that all the time. So that when somebody is, you're too close to me, you're touching my arm, and I have a temptation to take that personally and kind of, well, you're just not surrendering, get into that kind of battle with somebody. Instead, I can say, yeah, I can move back, I can give you space, but also my job is to keep us in our breath, to keep us there, stay listening. I'm soft and kind with that person in that moment because I'm in my body. That person can't take away my value by telling me I'm a bad breath worker. And I can still learn from that person, which is what it's my job to do. Okay, let's take a nice deep breath. And let it go. Take a nice deep breath, and we're going to shake some of this up in the brain stuff out. We are going to use this tenderizing of like bringing ourselves into a space where we're aware of ancient wisdom. We're aware that it's in the body. We're aware that we have to do a little bit of work to disarm, retrain, and be the parent and the elder to the younger part of the self, which is our renegade thoughts leading us into traffic with the cognitive, right? So we have some resources available to us all the time, which is why I can't make it to breathwork. I don't want to do this. All the excuses we always have that are like resistance. There's no excuse because the earth is under your body, because you are connected, grounded in your lower body. Your upper triangle is reaching up towards the sky. You have breath moving your body. True. So, but these elements around us and also drawing from traditions that have been around for a long, 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 long time can also be embodied, harnessed, deepened, respected, brought forth into our world. And it's a prime time to do that because as far as supply and demand, our culture in the world is starving for what feels like true wisdom. So it's a great time to do breathwork.
Thank you, Kay.